2017 has been a roller coaster of a year with ups and downs and things that just blew chunks, and this show is all about it. All about the things in 2017 that were not great in the gaming and tech sector, and a bit of the entertainment one as well. This whole nebulous space we occupy as people living on the web, watching YouTube videos, playing games, and occasionally caring about other things. I will not be taking things chronologically or in the order of importance, in the magnitude of their suckiness. Instead, I'm going to take them alphabetically. So I'm going to begin with AMD. Yes, it has been a good year for AMD, and I'm going to get to the good stuff from AMD in tomorrow's show, which is going to be about the greatest things that happened this year. But I'm going to talk today about the AMD graphics side. As you know, this year we got an RX 480, one made by Sapphires and RX 480 Nitro Plus, that does not come with a sticker in the box because last year, Sapphire seemed to be a bit skinflintish and I didn't even get a free game with it. I was hoping to have a Civilization 6, but no. Installing it was a bit of a pain, as I explained in the video, though that was more due to the motherboard. Problem is that all problems persisted after it was installed. I've been a Radeon user since the ADI days, and frankly, I did not get the hate. Sure, the driver optimization may not have been the best possible, so in terms of performance, you would sometimes see that Nvidia did more with less hardware. Okay, I got that, but I never got the actual hate until I used the RX 480 for a year. God damn it, AMD. What happened? The 5850, which was my last Radeon card, that had no issues with drivers. I would not even update them for a year, mostly because you put it on legacy support, but it still went on and worked flawlessly. Never an issue, never a problem. Since the Crimson update, things are just wonky. Relive, the thing you said was gonna replace Shadowplay for the people that came to Radeon from GeForce, that still doesn't work. You've had two major updates to it. It still does not work. It will crash, it'll stop functioning, it will generate videos that do not have synced audio. It makes useless videos for editing. Well, sure, I appreciate the fact that you added 100 megabits a second encoding rate, so there's more detail there, but it just makes the videos choppy and even more unusable. Unwatchable, to be more exact. I was happy to at least to see that somewhere down the line in this year's drivers, OpenCL support for some Adobe Premiere effects was actually working properly. And then you launched, a couple of days ago, you launched Adrenaline. You broke everything. OpenCL is again screwed. Your telemetry software crashes constantly and always reports my GPU frequency wrong to everything. Like it's a driver issue. Everything that asks the driver what the GPU speed is will get something wrong. Some people are saying, like people I know, have registered a 100% GPU usage even when uninstalling the driver and going back to an old one because bits of the new driver, the crappy, horrible one, are still there. Relive is still broken. The OpenCL thing is borked. The mobile app is kind of nice, but again, if it's reporting faulty information, what is it for? Radeon software is now more unstable than it has been ever. In the past decade, I do not remember a time when things were this bad. Good lord. Get your act together soon. Otherwise, guess what? Next fall, I may be switching to a GeForce 2070. Mostly because Vega, that's not a gaming card, that's a compute card. You pull the bulldozer again, where you made server parts for desktop, without actually, making them good for desktop applications. Yeah, it works okay, it's as good as a 1080, maybe a bit better, but you're still way behind on what something like a 1080 Ti does. I know, you have limited budget, you have limited cash flow. Would have been nice if you didn't make things worse by constantly coming out with stupid marketing gimmicks like those bundles in which you sold the Vega cards in with the very, very bizarre pricing on them. And let's not forget the RX 560 that has two versions of it. One of them is not an RX 560, it's an RX 560D, which you never told the manufacturers of graphics cards that you work with to name it a 560D. You don't even name it that, and it's being sold as a 560 even though it's a lesser video card, even though it's a 550, which is what you should have named it, or at least a 555, 555. You dropped the ball stupendously. You outright cheated people out of their money. The Radeon Technologies Group, which now doesn't have a boss anymore because he went to work for Intel, burned any goodwill that AMD assembled over this year thanks to Ryzen, which was a genuinely good game-changing product, to whose successor I am very much looking forward to switching to. But it's not gonna be with Radeon graphics, because you burned me a lot. You still are. In terms of what I need from the software for my day-to-day work, you are still about 3 years behind Nvidia. You're crippling the hardware. Stop. Just stop. Do better, please. Moving on. Bethesda. Now, I'm not gonna rag on Bethesda for re-releasing Skyrim for the 17th time on toasters now, but I'm gonna rag on them for Prey. They gave this game kinda no support, did they? They pretty much did everything possible to turn people against Prey. I played Prey. I like Prey. Prey is a good game. Prey is the system shock that I know the people at Arcane wanted to make ever since they began their trilogy of Looking Glass homage games with Arx Fatalis. Did the game get any sort of recognition? No. Did it get a big marketing push? No. Did it have the success it deserved? No. It's seen as that hated, despised game which replaced the Prey 2 that everybody else seemed to want. All because Bethesda decided, okay, let's call this Prey, even though it's not Prey. To be fair, the Prey we got in 2006 was not Prey either, so it's sort of in line with the tradition of a series of nothing being what it should have been, but you announced a sequel for it. You announced the lineage that Prey would have. And instead of calling this System Prey or Preyster Shock, Arcane Space, Hidden Moral Decision Simulator 2017, the game, you call it Prey. You sandbag the game and you pretty much just lumped it into a corner and let it die. And that game deserved better. That game deserved so much better. Speaking of games that deserve so much better, Diablo. This year, Diablo was not present at BlizzCon. The only thing we got this year, noticeable this year from Diablo, was a $15 character pack. Not an expansion that adds both the classes of characters, a class of characters with 2 genres actually, and, you know, a new campaign with extra acts, with more monsters, with new things. We just got a class, and crypt wings, and banners, and half-formed golem pits, but nothing substantially new, not something that could actually improve upon the game and make it what it should have been. You know, Path of Exile with better story and higher production value. And all this because, as I've said, even in the older video about why Diablo 3 is still kind of crap, the Blizzard we have now is not the Blizzard we used to have. It's the Blizzard that does its best to generate the maximum amount of revenue with the minimum amount of effort. Imagine having to buy the Druid class for Diablo 2. Think about it. No Act 5, just for $15 the Druid. Imagine that. That seems like a slap in the face. This isn't an indie game. This isn't a game that needs every little cent possible for funding to be finished. It's not Star Citizen. It's not Path of Exile. This is a game that has sold more copies than anything else in its genre. It is a giant, a titan that fundamentally still has really poor gameplay. Sticking with the Ds, have you heard that Disney bought most of 21st or 20th Century Fox? Now, this isn't directly game related. It's more related to the fact that Disney is becoming the kind of corporation that dystopian future sci-fi cyberpunk books have always warned us about. Disney sort of owns a lot of the IP going around the world and will do its best to make sure that copyright never expires, that Mickey Mouse is never public domain, and that it does gobble up everything in the public domain. It's too big, it must be dismantled, it must be destroyed. Disney is not a force for good. It is a soulless corporation made to indoctrinate kids into buying their stuff. And now it can do so with even more power. Moving on, DRM. Now, I know net neutrality is the big thing going on. I'm going to talk about it in the ends. But this year, DRM became a standard of HTML5. There is a provision now in HTML5 for encrypted media extensions, meaning that there is a standard for implementing DRM through HTML5 without any sort of plugins or exterior things that you would have to install or would be installed for you. It's all right there in the specification evolution of HTML5 itself. This is the death warrant of the internet. The internet is dead. With the DRM at its foundation, it is no longer free and open exchange of ideas, of information, of cat videos. It is a tightly controlled, tightly monitored, constantly surveilled shitternet. Sir Tim Berners-Lee, the creator of the World Wide Web, sold everybody out. Google, Netflix, Microsoft, they're the ones that put DRM into HTML5. They made the spec for it. There's provisions in there that don't allow, people to circumvent it, to analyze it. Because DRM is never about managing digital rights. It's never about protecting copyright. It's about exerting control. It's about preventing you from owning your content. It's about limiting what you can do anywhere. Moving on. Electronic Arts. Oh boy, where do we start? Well, let's just get it over with the big one. They had Star Wars. They had a Star Wars game written by Amy Hennig, who, she made Uncharted bearable. She had a major part in shaping the Legacy of Kain series from Soul Reaver onwards, minus Blood Omen 2 because that one sucked. And she was working on a Star Wars game, and Electronic Arts said, you know what? Single-player games don't sell. Let's not do that. Oh, The Witcher sold how many? No, it doesn't matter. We can't loot box this, can we? No, we can't. So we're gonna close it. And they shut down the entire studio. Production wasn't going well. On account of it is Electronic Arts, they do ruin everything. Even though they had this IP, they had Star Wars. You can put a Star Wars sticker on cabbages and it'll sell, which is what Disney has done. Even with this, they couldn't see this being a success. They couldn't see this going forward. They couldn't do something with it. Instead, they made Battlefront 2, which is an absolute clusterfunk. It is a microtransaction bait game with still less value to it than one made 12 years ago, and they insisted the monetization is important, that it's pivotal, that they need to recoup their losses somehow. What losses? You made a Star Wars game, it's gonna sell millions. The last one sold over 10 million, I think 14 or something. You're really bad at producing video games if you can't keep your budgets in check. You make a lot of your assets in Eastern Europe for nothing. You pay those people next to nothing. Your QA department, same thing. You pay them next to nothing and still you expect them to work miracles, and you somehow still managed to ignore their feedback, which is why your last Medal of Honor game was so crap. You absolutely ignored the feedback given by your own QA teams. You even got a guy fired for spilling the beans about this. Sure, he broke the NDA he was under, but he was right. You suck. And you're constantly trying to say, well, we need to monetize this by adding things that absolutely improve the ability of you to be a better player, to give you more damage, more health, more everything, instead of cosmetics, because, well, how could you make cosmetics? We don't want the pink Darth Vader. I mean, you can't do cosmetics. You did it in the last game. Your last game had cosmetics. This one had cosmetics in it before you changed your mind and decided to remove the cosmetics and add power, to let people outright buy power. You really are fortunate that the consumerist is out of business, so you can't win a third worst company in America award. But you get it in spirit. You always will. Let's talk a bit about Facebook. Facebook is trying its best to become a self-isolated, internalized bubble, one in which nothing escapes from and from which nothing can enter, or the other way around. It's been changing algorithms. It's been deciding out of the blue that news sites like the one I work for at my day job aren't allowed to post their own links on their own page, even though they've done this for 10 years, because if they post more than 3 an hour, because sometimes it's a busy news day, that's grounds for this entire site being spam and it must be blocked. Their attempts to curtail the rise of fake news, I'm gonna get into that too, has pretty much been nothing. On account of the fake news is what's been driving Facebook. All the clips about, oh look, this team of researchers found a cure for cancer. It's click here to see more, and you click here to see more, and oh look, it's fish that's been buried under the sand for 6 weeks and you have to eat it while dancing around the tree with a candle in your hand and at midnight. That's not fake news. No. It's gotta be something about politics to be fake news, right? And all the Russian bots, yeah man, the Russian bots, it sure is their fault, the goddamn Russia. Who pays for those Russian bots? Sometimes, guess what, it's not Russia. And hey, who gets money from Russia when all the fake political articles show up, when all the advertisements that are just out there to incite divisiveness, to ferment dissonance in the public? Who gets money for us? Oh yeah, Facebook does. Then it pretends, oh, we don't know, we have no idea what's we're doing our best. We are the safeguard of the internet. We are we are angels. No, you're a for-profit company that spies on people constantly, that's built immeasurable fortune on the basic human need of wanting to share their lives with others. And you've turned that into something sinister, and you're still doing it. And you'll keep doing it. You've said to our company, the one I work for at my day job, not this one, that there will be no announcements, no heads up whenever you change an algorithm. So you're gonna fuck us hard, sideways, 4 dudes minimum, and you'll never tell us why. So thanks, Facebook. Thanks. Moving on. Game journalists can't play games and get defensive about it. Oh boy, you remember this one, right? That guy from that, thing, couldn't get through the tutorial. People laughed at it. They changed the title of the video in question to make it a bit more funny, to say that, oh, this is a shameful playthrough of Cuphead. And then they get, defensive, because, maybe it's the tutorial's fault, maybe it's the game developer's fault. Well, why should I know how to play a game? Instead of saying, oh yeah, I screwed up, I didn't see the text, it was tiring day, my bad. No, instead, they went the opposite, because that's what the gaming media does. The gaming media loves talking about itself. It enjoys it tremendously. It is the dream. It is turning yourself into news, getting defensive about yourself, making yourself the victim, you, the stalwart shield against the darkness, the eternal circle jerk. Maybe it's the game developer's fault. Maybe it's the gamer's fault. It's not ours. Never ours. Because admitting you're wrong, that means you're wrong. It doesn't mean that you're actually capable of admitting that you may be in error. No, it means that you're wrong. And when you admit you're wrong, people will know you're wrong instead of being wrong and people believing you're right. But they don't believe you're right. They know you're wrong. You're just in denial. Moving on to GTA Online. Was the economy still an absolute crap fest? You got your mods back, glad you're happy about them. The economy of the online game is still absolutely terrible. The latest update that finally added more heists to the game. To actually access those heists, you need a different building that costs about 5 million, or 3.5 million with all the bells and whistles, and that has all sorts of features that invalidate the previous building you bought, and the previous one, 2 of them at least. And all the content in it costs... If you were to try and buy enough shark cards with real money to get that content, you'd have to pay about $380 something. That's without the upgrades. Well, it's in game, it's free, right? Well, no, it costs you time, a lot of time, because every payout in the game is terrible. Over the course of the new heist, you'll be hearing, oh, this is a lot of money, this is more money than we ever had, this is Mondo Macho Bucks. It's around 750,000 split between 3 people. It's pennies compared to anything added into the game. To its cost. I mean, wouldn't you want a DeLorean that flies around and shoots things with missiles like all the hackers have? But you don't want to hack because, well, you're either afraid that you may be found out and banned, then you have to buy the game again, or you don't want to be a hacker. You want to earn things the illegal, the direct way, the way it was intended. Well, pay up or play like mad for weeks and weeks and days and non-stop. But no one's asking that they fix the economy. No one cares. They just want to go on playing a really, really badly made game. Moving on. Fidget spinners, the Pokemon Go of 2017. A dumb, stupid thing. That is one of the double events that I was referring to in the video I made at the beginning of this year. There should have been one more that could have probably destroyed the human civilization as you know it, but it hasn't appeared, so I'm thankful for that. You couldn't get away from these stupid things. Everybody shoved them in your face constantly. You couldn't be content with, oh look, I have a thing I enjoy, I'm gonna enjoy it. No, they shove it in your face non-stop everywhere you look. It's like a disease. It's a brain virus. It's a marketing virus. It's a plague. It's a sign that humanity is doomed. But they're over now. Next year is probably going to be the mainstream international craze of kendama, which you know what a kendama is if you're from Romania or Bulgaria. It was our fidget spinner. Apart from the fidget spinners as well, we had both of them at the same time and it was unbearable. Unbearable. Moving on. Half-Life 3. No sign of it yet. Instead, Valve is working on a card game. Valve is going to Hearthstone Dota. Valve, stop. I know you're making billions out of Steam. Use those funds to make a game. No. The Bridge Constructor portal, that doesn't count. That's not made by you. That's not a Valve game. That's Bridge Constructor with portal theme. Do something. You launched a Pyro update for Team Fortress? 4 years too late. You could have kept on pushing Team Fortress until, it would have just eclipsed Overwatch completely. You could have pushed Team Fortress out on the new consoles, and there would have not been an Overwatch. You could have toned down the goddamn heads in it. Could have vanillaed it. Well, not actual vanilla, I mean vanilla right around the time of maybe Spy versus Sniper, somewhere around there. Keep the good stuff, remove the crap, the hats, the bells, the whistles. Make Team Fortress 2 great again, just like Paradox made Space great again with Stellaris. Do that, do it. Or, make Half-Life 3, who at least had the fortune of the writer of Half-Life 2 Episode 3 tell us what the story was gonna be, so we've got that at least. Moving on, loot boxes. They're not gambling according to the company that's very heavily invested in them being gambling because that's why they make more money off them. They're not gambling according to New Zealand, the country whose government is owned by several media corporations, but they are gambling to pretty much everybody else. You invest money in them, tangible money, you get something random out that may be valuable, may not be valuable, may be tradable in some games, may not be tradable, have a value assigned to it in-game, or have a value assigned to it outside of the game. You may as well say that it's not gambling to go to a casino if you're paid in chips that you can then redeem somewhere else. They're gambling. And to insert them everywhere because it's gambling and it's profitable is ruining games. Take for example Shadow of Mordor's sequel, Shadow of War. It still kept the same horrible combat and added sexy Shelob because it's made by idiots. And I mean the people at Warner Bros, not the people at Monolith who do I believe have something stupendously awesome on their hands. The Nemesis system is one of the best innovations in gaming since, I don't know, voxels, something like that, probably. And it's continuously shoehorned into a game that's rife with horrible combat, repetitive gameplay, and now loot boxes. So it sucks more. Speaking of encroaching corporate interest, Marvel Heroes. I did not like the game when it was released. It got better. I've heard that it was actually quite okay. It was closed down not when it said it would be on the 31st of December, but at the beginning of this month. And it was closed down along with the studio, partly because they weren't doing great, partly because Disney pulled the license because they did not have the Thor tie-in stuff in the game on time. That's the problem with making a licensed game. The licensor can be a giant soulless corporate entity like Disney that can just pull it and not have any consequences brought upon it because they made the contract. They have all the power. Are they using it to improve things like make Star Wars Battlefront 2, the new one, better? No, at least they made the old one playable again in multiplayer, so that's something. But they're not going to use it to make things better. I mean, they closed down Star Wars Galaxies, which in many ways was still a better MMO than Star Wars The Old Republic. It was an MMO that, at least at one time before it sort of went the way of World of Warcraft, dreamed big, dreamed things that you do not see in the MMO space now, because back then they did not believe that the MMO was just a small little box with different paint on it and had creativity. Up next is net neutrality. It's dead in the USA. Oh, sure, it has to go through Congress. It's gonna go through Congress. It's gonna have opposition. It's not gonna have opposition. We're talking about a nation where they actively supported a pedophile for Senate with no shame, with absolutely no sort of self-awareness, no nothing. You think they give a damn about net neutrality? You think they care? They get more money from your Comcast, your Verizons than they do from you. You're out of luck. But again, the net was already kind of dead because of the DRM thing. Moving on. RAM. Do you want to upgrade your RAM this year? Well, good luck, buddy. 16 gigs costs $250. It's incredibly expensive. It's doubled in price since the beginning of the year, and there's a chance it will keep on growing. There's slim pickings. There's not a big enough supply because most of it is being used by the mobile sector, and also because Samsung doesn't want there to be more supply. Why would they want to be? Samsung, Micron, HK Hynix, they are the controlling companies of the memory market, and they are now making record profits in terms of memory, and they're doing this because they can. Because much like when 1/3 of the hard drive companies were affected in the price explosion of 2011 on account of that incident in Thailand with the hurricane or the monsoon or something, they all increased their prices. Now they're all increasing their prices because next year some companies from China will begin manufacturing memory, and if that happens, then guess who's not gonna have complete control over the market anymore? It'll take time, sure, but if they can make RAM, they won't buy it from Samsung anymore because China does consume most of the RAM in the world. That's where all the manufacturing plants are for pretty much every mobile phone, every electronics, everything. So they're bleeding the market dry while they can, maximizing their revenue, at least using some of it to absolutely floor investment in development. Samsung alone spent about 7 billion this year in RAM. That's pretty much double of what they did last year. Hoping that this way they will be prepared for when competition comes along and they'll crush it, hopefully. And that's what I'm hoping, and maybe prices will go down sometime in 2018 or 2019 or 2020 someday. Because I don't want to spend more money on RAM than on a video card. Up next, Steam Greenlight is dead, and that's not actually a good thing. We used to have a show made by my friend Raul who took his time and every week listed in video form all the new games coming on Steam. He can't do it anymore because now that everybody that can pay $100 has their game on Steam, there's no filter. There is no, at least, voting system in the community that says, okay, this one goes, this doesn't go. It's gone. Sure, it was abusable as hell with absolute lies being peddled there often, sometimes by big YouTubers who never claimed responsibility for their actions or suffered any consequences, but at least it was something. Now it's not, and we've got hundreds of games coming out on Steam each week, and some of them cannot be called games. Some of them are just utter trash. Horrible. Disastrous. It's made Steam an app market, a mobile app market filled to the brim with noise, with garbage that you have to sift through to find the things that are actually good. And it's gonna get worse. Much, much worse as time goes on. Speaking of things that get much worse as time goes on, Overwatch. It was a great game when they released it. I enjoyed it quite a lot. I played it at the last free weekend. It's a bland, horrible game. There's no everybody gets to be a giant gorilla and fight each other. No, it's just one versus one versus one versus one. It's all different characters. It's the Highlander mode for Team Fortress 2, the one that was only used kind of in competitive scenarios. They made it the default of Overwatch, and they're complaining that they can't further develop the game because the community is too toxic. Really, the community is too toxic. How about you improve the game? How about you make it better so it stops being toxic? How about you put some actual effort into it? You spent most of 2016 teasing Sombra and then having it be a lame character with not really much to her. People were expecting something grander, something bigger, something more than just a single character, but again, that's not what Blizzard does now. People were expecting Terry Crews to play Doomfist. He's not. People were expecting to not be banned because they say GG at the end of a game. According to some reports, they are. Why not just take out voice chat? Why not take out old chat on the game? If you want to make this a kids game, just remove the ability to speak. That's what all kids games do. You know who didn't complain that much about toxicity in an identical game? Valve with Team Fortress 2. They didn't say, oh, it's because of the toxicity of the players that we're delaying the update that introduces something. No, they just said it because they're Valve. That's what Valve does. They never launch something on time. They don't come up with stupid excuses. People paid money for a game they want to enjoy. You then come with excuses that they can't enjoy their game because you're too busy dealing with something other people say. Give me a goddamn break. You want to talk abuse? At my first job doing this, I was being threatened daily over Skype, over email. People were hacking the site at least twice a month, replacing it with a lemon party, with gore, and I was still doing my goddamn job. And you know what I was earning from that job? I was earning less a month than I just earned now with one article on Steemit. I was doing it because I believed in that project, because I believed in that community, because I believed that Arena TV could be something just as much as the people before me believed. I was totally wrong because it was run by an idiot, but I did my goddamn job regardless. But expecting that from a multi-billion-dollar company is not the same thing, is it? I know, right? It's not. Speaking of which, YouTube, you're a pile of absolute trash right now. I mean, you are horrible. You've left us without any ads. You've made algorithms that purposefully destroy channels. You've made constant changes to undermine the people that put you here, all in the name of catering to the giant USA networks and cable companies that began by attacking YouTube on account of they didn't want their content here. Now they want their content here. Now, oh, guess what? They can make videos about tragedies and have their videos monetized. We can't. We can't be political. We can't say nasty words. We can't have an edge. We have to be as dull as possible, as PC as possible, as friendly, happy, little marketing machines for your scummy advertisers. The ones who will advertise on magazines where there's... Have you read a magazine? Any of them? You know what a lot of the rags consider articles? No, those still get advertising. Yeah, absolutely. Those are advertiser friendly. A TV show where someone gets their face ripped off. Yeah, sure, no problem. A video on YouTube. Perish the thought. Oh, and this year you remember that kids may be watching YouTube and there's hundreds of videos that are extremely disturbing, probably made by pedophiles that people have been reporting to you for years. Now you're just noticing them? Now? You see, oh, it's now on YouTube. Now! Made a channel now. Wow. Fill it with stars that backed her up and said, oh, such a great person here. This is how you YouTube. Now, wow. The 2017 rewind thing, it's there's no mention in that bit that I'm probably breaking an NDA here or something. A while ago, I was made aware of a discussion between YouTube and channels of a certain NCM. Not saying it's ours, on account of they may drop us if I say this, where the YouTube representative said, not blaming her, she was a very nice person, very kind, not her fault. She said that we should do our best to monetize our viewers, but not through Patreon, but through YouTube. We have to get you to subscribe to us, to pay us money through YouTube, so then YouTube can get a cut. They have no intention of improving ad revenue. They have no intention of improving the service for people. All they want is to milk the content creators dry until they are driven away, and then, well, there's no competition for Jimmy Kimmel Live, for the Colbert Report new show thing, for the sanitized, identical message spread by an ever-shrinking number of voices in the US media. Because as I said, this ain't just Spot Fox, or sure, not Fox News, but the rest of it. No dissent, no opposing viewpoints, no criticism, hell, not even the same viewpoint, but slightly off the point, slightly deviated. Something that goes, yeah, I absolutely agree with that, but here's one thing that could... No. YouTube promised that we could build a business on its service. That's why so many people are here. It broke that promise. And it can break it all at once now because we have alternatives. I said it again. I made on Steam it more money than I make personally from this channel in 2 weeks. And that was with an hour or two of work, not 2 weeks of work. And with no years of pulling my ever-decreasing hair out of my head, trying to figure out who keeps claiming my videos, what right they have, or why did Blizzard send me this footage from Cataclysm to use for a preview, then gave me a copyright strike for using that footage for a preview, then removed it, then reinstated it, then claimed all the ad revenue for it. There's no ambiguity, there's no obfuscation. On the blockchain, everything is known, whereas on YouTube, all we know is that they don't care, and never will. And lastly, Windows 10. Creator update sort of borked contextual menus in the pin things on the taskbar. It reverted itself. It worked after a couple of weeks. 2 days ago, got a small update after the second creator update. It did it again, so now I don't have any shortcuts that are usable from the pinned list in my taskbar. So Microsoft, you still have no clue why people would want to use an operating system, to the point where only after Stardock launched Groupie, well, at least announced it, did you think to yourself, oh, people want tabs for multiple applications? Well, we can do that. Yeah. It'll be out next year. Oh, Groupie's out now. Oh boy. Yeah, it'll be out next year. It'll be better. It'll be amazing. Oh, it'll just work with Microsoft applications in Edge. And so this 40-minute, I'd say, rant about the things that were horrible this year comes to an end. Mind you, there may be more things that are horrible, but these are the only ones that I can remember and that are valid to me as an Eastern European that lives on the web. So I know things are bad in USA with your president doing stupid things. Not saying you deserve it, but your last administration did keep our Trump on for another 2 years, even though we impeached him. Just saying, you can't get to complain about people interfering in your election if you do it constantly to others. Not to mention Iraq. I know, it's hard. It's okay. I have faith in you that you will be able to get through this. You've got my full support, and I love you. Just remember when you're done with him that your country is constantly doing evil, absolutely evil things to everyone. It's been doing it since day one. So maybe don't stand on top of the high horse juggling self-congratulatory epithets. And with nobody else watching the video now because everybody hates me, I bid you adieu. Tomorrow we're gonna have a video with the things in 2017 that were not horrible. Goodbye.